Now, joining us on the program to talk about not just school security, but also, frankly, the very idea of gun ownership. Very pleased to have with us Karen Bartuch from the Women's Tactical Association and Alpha Girls. Karen, how you doing tonight?
Excellent. How are you?
I am good. Thanks for coming back on the show.
Absolutely.
So the author, Joyce Carol Oates, who has had a lot of not nice things to say about gun owners and the NRA, said on Twitter earlier today, maybe guns are a guy thing, essentially, and there are too many of you. She went on to say, so it requires really confident guys like Michael Bloomberg. But wait, she says, who is like Bloomberg? Only one MB, to defy the gun lobby. So, first of all, Karen, how sexist a statement is this by Joyce Carol Oates that maybe guns are a guy thing, essentially?
Yeah, my blood pressure is through the roof. Nothing like a gender stereotype to set us women back a couple decades here. It's absolutely ridiculous that she would even say something like that.
I mean, yeah. I mean, look, you're a law enforcement officer. We had the story of the mom in Georgia earlier this week who defended herself and her kids against a home intruder. We've talked to Olympic medalists like Kim Rhodey and competitive shooters like Julie Golub, as well as women who are just getting into gun ownership, who've gone to first shots events. Women who are getting into hunting. I mean, this is such an antiquated a thought here that, well, only these testosterone-filled guys, Karen, and those looking to overcompensate would ever want to own a firearm.
Yeah, and it really just shows her ignorance. I mean, an issue as big as this, where people are talking about changing the Constitution and possibly sending officers to confiscate weapons from people, and she's making general stereotypical statements like that. I mean, she's got to be doing her homework. She can't be making general statements like that on an issue such as this. I mean, I realize she was saying it a little tongue-in-cheek, but I personally find it really offensive.
Well, I think you should. But look, here's the thing. So we've got this across the board. I mean, we've talked all night about the media assault on the idea of gun ownership. It doesn't surprise me, Karen, that women would come under particular scrutiny because women gun owners are a very fast-growing segment of the firearms community. There are a lot of new gun owners who are women, and maybe these folks feel like these are soft targets, so to speak. It's easy. It's going to be easy to shame them because their convictions aren't really set. I think they're way off, personally.
Yeah, definitely. I think she's way off with saying that. I think Feinstein said something similar where women aren't meant to take lives, they're meant to make life. And they're creating these gender barriers where they don't need to exist. And I just find it personally offensive. I mean, like you said, the women are the fastest growing segment in the firearms community. And I think that's because there's a lot of great education out there from the NRA. There's a lot of female role models like the women that you mentioned. So it's becoming more and more of interest to women.
Absolutely. Now, the last time we talked, Karen, we talked about the idea of armed school security. Since then, it's been kind of interesting. We've seen a lot of people come out, including people like Chicago Mayor Rahm Emanuel, who said, this idea is absurd. The answer is not more guns in school, while their own kids are going to schools in places with armed security.
Yeah, and just like we mentioned last time on the call, that you walk into a bank, there's armed security. It's good for the president to have armed security.
I was at the DMV today, and there was armed security there. And, by the way, it did not feel like a prison. It still felt like a DMV.
Yeah, exactly. I don't understand this whole idea of context where a firearm has different meanings and different applications. If there's an armed officer in a school, I think the kids are going to feel safer. I don't think it's going to frighten them. I think they're going to feel a lot safer, and we know that they're going to be safer. And as far as Bloomberg, if he's not letting a school that wants to have armed security in the school, then honestly, if something happens there, he's got blood on his hands, in my opinion. This is why we elect our politicians, so that they're speaking our voice, and clearly that's not the case.
Yeah, I gotta say, I still am just amazed by that you have parents who want this, and the answer is basically, well, no, the mayor doesn't. So suck it up. You're not getting it. I got to ask you as well about a statement by the Chicago Police Superintendent Gary McCarthy. You know, in Illinois, the Seventh Circuit just declared that residents there in the state, they do have a right to carry. You've got a right to bear arms, and the court, in essence, gave the state 180 days to write some sort of law that will comply with the Constitution. Today, the Attorney General announced that she's seeking an en banc review of that decision from the Seventh Circuit. But the superintendent, Gary McCarthy, said, quote, you put more guns on the street, expect more shootings. I don't care if they're licensed, legal firearms. People who are not highly trained, putting guns in their hands is a recipe for disaster. So I will train our officers that there's a concealed carry law, but when somebody turns with a firearm in their hand, the officer does not have an obligation to wait to get shot to return fire, and we're going to have tragedies as a result of that. I'm telling you right up front. Now, Karen, look, I got to tell you, if this is what the superintendent truly believes, how on earth did he rise to the level of superintendent? And if he's not, if this is just scaremongering, that's not what police superintendents should do.
No, and it's quite frankly putting the police in a bad light.
Yeah,
they're gonna. Yeah, that's an absurd statement, and we've seen in Chicago that a gun ban does not work. It's a case in point of the ineffectiveness of a gun ban. We have the highest amount of gun violence here in Chicago, and we've had a gun ban in place for as long as I can ever remember. And the bad guys are always the ones that seem to have them, not the good guys.
Absolutely. Well, it's interesting, too. You've actually got some police organizations in the city of Chicago that have come out in favor of right to carry. Robert Weiskopf, president of the Chicago Police Lieutenants Association, said, quote, we recognize the importance and need for citizens in the state of Illinois to be legally allowed to protect themselves with the right to carry a weapon concealed. We feel that it would enhance citizen safety and, in the end, make our job easier. So, when the rank and file folks are saying, yeah, we want right to carry, and the police superintendent is saying, no, it'd be absolutely horrible. Why these officers would be shooting concealed carry holders. I mean, you have to wonder how much of this is directed from the mayor's office.
Yeah, I mean, you could tell who's pulling the strings.
Yeah, absolutely. In the meantime, I mean, what are you hearing there in Illinois? Are you hearing from folks who are excited about the possibility of actually having a right to carry?
Oh, yeah, people are definitely excited about it here. Especially it's been for so long without it, and there's just so many good people here that want to be able to protect themselves and their families. So it's definitely a good thing if it's going to happen.
All right. Well, listen, Karen, I really appreciate you coming on the program, and I'm looking forward to seeing you at SHOT Show in Las Vegas next week.
Yeah, in person for once.
I know. How about that? All
Great.
right. Well, listen, have a great night. We'll see you soon.
All right. Thanks, guys.